when.
Okay.
Okay means we're live.
We're all set.
All right, good afternoon. Welcome to the Senate Executive Nominations Committee. We're sorry, we're just a minute or two late getting started. We have a quorum, so we're gonna jump right into the meeting, and I will call up David Lapp, who is up for appointment as People's Counsel, and I think Waldstreicher is here to introduce him.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hello, everyone. I hope all is well. It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. David Lapp for his nomination as People's Counsel. Mr. Lapp has a long history of public service and public interest advocacy with more than 30 years of experience as a lawyer and writer working on public relation and corporate accountability in important parts of the economy. He's been serving as acting People's Counsel since January 1, 2021. And prior to that, for the past 18 years with the Office of the Attorney General, his work focused on state and federal regulatory policy in the tobacco and healthcare industries. As Chief Counsel of the Tobacco Enforcement Unit at OAG, he was a leader in state and national efforts to enforce the National Tobacco Master Settlement Agreement against major cigarette manufacturers. Most recently, in his position as Deputy Counsel for the Maryland Department of Health, he has focused on regulation of the healthcare industry and providing advice and representation to the state Medicaid program. Mr. Lapp has handled complicated legal issues with competing public policy goals. His hard work has been recognized. He received the Attorney General Exceptional Service Award, a National Association of Attorneys General Award for leading work for state attorneys general on tobacco-related issues. Mr. Lapp worked in utility regulation for more than 10 years prior to arriving at the Office of the Attorney General. He was advocating on behalf of consumer and environmental interests. He graduated with top honors from the University of Maryland School of Law and clerked for Judge Howard Chazanow on the Maryland Court of Appeals. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And simply put, Attorney General Frosch told me he couldn't think of anybody better that he could have possibly made this appointment to. So, Mr. Lapp, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Would you like to make some remarks?
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Young and members of the committee. Thank you for your time and your consideration, and thanks to Senator Waldstreicher for the introduction and your kind words, Chair Young. I wanted to say a special thank you to Attorney General Frosch for his nomination and this opportunity to serve as People's Counsel. I am humbled and honored. I've lived in Maryland since graduating from college in Prince George's and Montgomery counties. I went to law school at the University of Maryland in Baltimore, as you heard, and have worked in Baltimore for almost 20 years at the Office of the Attorney General. I'm committed to public service in the state. Senator Waldstreicher spoke of my experience there at the Attorney General's office. Utility regulation has been a lifelong interest of mine. Prior to state service, I spent more than 10 years working as an attorney and as a writer advocating on utility issues for consumers and the environment. I can honestly say that 25 years ago, being here today as the nominee for People's Counsel would have been a dream come true. Whether it be my work back then or at the Attorney General's office since, a consistent theme of my career has been making regulation effective. Effective not as a means unto itself, but as a means of achieving the best and most cost-effective performance. If confirmed, I will work hard to improve utility performance for the state and its residential customers. It's a really exciting time to be involved in the industry. Utility services are not only essential, they are hugely consequential for consumers and the environment. New technologies are changing the industry every day. I've had a hint of the exciting possibilities over the last 2 months serving the office in an acting capacity. I've really enjoyed working with the staff over that time. Again, I have been privileged to serve the state of Maryland in my capacities in the Attorney General's office and would be honored to continue serving the state as People's Counsel. Thank you, Chair Young and members of the committee for considering my nomination.
Okay, thank you. Any senators have questions or comments they'd like to make? It appears not. I think most of us, or a lot of us, have served with Brian and know if he made an appointment, it's somebody good. So thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Senator.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to make one jump at this point, and then we're going to go through the agenda in order. I'd like to go to appointment number 8, Director of the Maryland Environmental Services, Dr. Glass, and well, Senator Waldstreicher, you have Senator Dr. Glass also.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening again, colleagues. It is my pleasure to present to you my constituent and the nominee for Director of the Maryland Environmental Service, Dr. Charles Glass. Dr. Glass, in addition to being the first African-American nominated to this post, is uniquely qualified for this job. He graduated from Montgomery Blair High School in Montgomery County, which is my alma mater. He graduated in 1989, as a couple of years later, and completed his undergraduate degree in civil engineering in 1992 at the Johns Hopkins University. He completed his Master of Science in 1994 and earned his PhD in environmental engineering in 1997, both at the University of Colorado at Boulder. It's my understanding that if confirmed, he'd be the first person in this role with a PhD in environmental science. After completing his doctoral studies and after a brief stint teaching in Nevada, he then came back to the Maryland, DC area to teach at Howard University, where he was an assistant and associate professor for 17 years. Beyond his experience and love for finding innovative solutions for challenging environmental issues that we all face, I know Dr. Glass to be a person of high ethical character. As I'm sure he will discuss with you shortly, he's committed to me to ensuring that the ills that plagued MES under the service's prior director will not happen under his watch. He described to me in detail the reforms he has put in place and things he is still working on. And I know he looks forward to working with all of us on the necessary statutory changes we will consider this legislative session. With that, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, it is my pleasure to introduce you to Dr. Charles Glass, whom I hope we will all vote to approve as the next director of the Maryland Environmental Service.
Thank you, Senator. I will just say briefly that I too had a very long conversation with him, going over many of the, or most of the same things that you discussed. And but with that, Dr. Glass.
Chair Young, would you mind if I say a few words?
Oh, I am sorry. Yes, Senator, you did have to do that.
I sure did.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Young.
Go
I
ahead.
really appreciate that. Thank you, Chair Young. Members of the committee, Malcolm Augustine, Senator Malcolm Augustine, District 47, here to just say a few words on behalf of Dr. Charles Glass. I just want to start by saying this about Dr. Glass. This is what I think of him. Detail-oriented, no-nonsense, straight shooter who's consistently done what is right and in the best interest of the people of Maryland. Dr. Glass, you heard a little bit about it, but I just want to make it a little bit more specific about his background. He is a professional engineer. His PhD in civil engineering, specifically biological processes within environmental engineering. You heard that he taught at Howard, but he taught in the environmental engineering courses within the civil engineering department for those 16 years. Now, he did this all the time, maintaining his own environmental consulting business. With these kinds of things, him being the director of the Maryland Environmental Services is a perfect match for Dr. Glass and a tremendous opportunity for Maryland to have. I first met Dr. Glass when I was on the WMATA board representing Prince George's County. and Dr. Glass was responsible for transportation policy and analysis for Maryland Department of Transportation, with State of Maryland responsibility for WMATA. From the beginning, Dr. Glass dove into the details to better understand how Maryland could be served better by WMATA from a fiscal and service delivery standpoint. I am certain that his background, matched with his integrity and work ethic, will be an ongoing positive force for MES. Colleagues, we also connected because we both coached our kids' youth sports teams. His dedication to those kids showed me all I need to know about Dr. Glass, and he has not let me down in 5 years. I support his nomination and ask for his confirmation as Director of Maryland Environmental Services. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity to say a few words about Dr. Glass.
Thank you, Senator. I apologize. I had your name written down and I would have jumped back to you, but I should have gotten you right away. Dr. Glass. Are you there, Dr. Glass?
Hear me?
Proceed, yes.
I'm having a problem and I can only hear you on Zoom for some reason, the computer, but I see your face, Senator Young, and I'm just going to say my comments and then I'll put the Zoom back on so I can hear questions. Good evening, Chair Young, Vice Chair Beidel, Senate President Ferguson, Senate President Pro Tem Griffith, and distinguished members of the Senate Nominations Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening. For the record, my name is Dr. Charles Glass, Acting Director of the Maryland Environmental Service. I want to thank Governor Hogan for his confidence in nominating me to this role. I also want to thank Senator Wallstricker for the warm introduction and my dear friend, Senator Augustine, for his comments. And I want to publicly thank Senator McCray, Delegate Corman for their collaboration on the MES reform bill that is making its way through to passage. Each of you should have my resume and biography, and you've heard so much about my background. To this time, I will focus my brief remarks on how I see my role in leading MES. I was humbled and honored last June when Governor Hogan appointed me to this position. I'm an academic, scientist, engineer, and a government executive with 30 years of training and experience. I'm well prepared to lead MES to fulfill its mission. MES provides a vital function to our state, helping our state and local governments comply with federal and state obligations on many environmental fronts. The talented, hardworking women and men of MES have been out on the front lines, purifying water, keeping the channels of the Port of Baltimore open, and recycling waste products every day, 365 days a year for the last 50 years. The Maryland General Assembly was at the forefront in creating a singular entity that is unique in our country, and I've researched this, that can handle these tasks with speed and efficiency. In closing, I'm again honored and humbled that Governor Hogan expressed his confidence in my abilities by asking me to assume this important role at this critical time. I am deeply committed to leading MES in a responsible, accountable, and transparent manner, and I respectfully and humbly ask for your support for my confirmation as the next MES director. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments?
Chair Young, Senator Lamb has a question.
Okay, Senator Lamb.
I'm going to try to get another laptop open because I cannot hear your questions, even though I am.
Dr. Glass, can you hear us now?
Jeff. Oh, I need to hear what the questions are real time.
Try again, Senator Lamb.
Dr. Glass, can you hear us now?
Because I cannot hear your questions. So you're hearing it on YouTube as well. I've got to go to the link. Just tell me you can hear the questions right now. I can hear the questions right now. There might be a time delay, but I'm opening up another laptop to see if I can get this corrected.
Okay,
Sure.
Senator Lamb.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and ask the question. It sounds like you have it pulled up on YouTube, so it's probably about a 10, 15, 20 second delay. But In the meantime,
I can hear you on a delay.
okay, great. Thanks for, appreciate your willingness to reach out over the interim to, one, to obviously show up before the Joint Committee on Fair Practice and State Personnel Oversight that myself and Delegate Barrett chair as well, and then also you've had with me to provide some greater reassurance as to the leadership of MES. And my question is this, and I did appreciate the time earlier, and I think, you answered my questions for the most part at that point in time. Two very simple questions to follow up. The investigation is still ongoing with the council that's been brought on board to help facilitate the further investigation that the Joint Committee is conducting. That continues. I anticipate that you will still, number one, fully cooperate with the ongoing investigation, and number two, if you're open to additional reforms that may be necessary if further issues arise. You answered my questions for the most part at that point. Very simple questions to follow up. The investigation is ongoing with the council that's been brought on board to help facilitate further investigation that the Joint Committee is conducting. I anticipate that you will still
Dr. Glass, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, we're good. I'm sorry. I heard a question from Senator Lamb related to continuing to support the investigation. Can he repeat the question so I can hear it in detail?
Yeah, sure. So it was really just to the investigation still continues on. The council that's been assigned to the Joint Committee still is doing their work. I just wanted to have reassurance from you as the new director for MES that you will continue to fully cooperate, as well as the staff that may be called before the Joint Committee in the future, as well as be open to any reforms that may still be necessary if the Joint Committee and the ongoing investigation determines that's needed.
Yes, sir. I plan to always be completely open and transparent in every way. And there will never be a time where information that is required by law, statute, or just to help the agency make sure that we have our reputation that stood for 50 years is just, unchallenged, and there are no questions regarding how we operate. MES, by the way, actually has the responsibility in many instances to be the verifier of environmental information. So when projects are ongoing, for instance, with the community-based public-private partnership in Prince George's County for the Chesapeake Bay TMDL, we actually verify that contractors are doing great work. I want to bring that same integrity to all of our office work, all of our back office work, everything that we do. So yes, you do have my commitment to always be completely engaged with any investigations and any inquiries by attorneys.
Okay, great. Yeah, you've been very forthcoming and open with providing information to the Joint Committee up to this point, and we certainly appreciate that and hope that will continue. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Lamb.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Yes.
Thank you. If I could just comment, I just wanted to thank Dr. Glass for a very candid conversation. I, like many of you, had some questions or concerns after the process that the Joint Committee that the chair just went through, shared information with us. And I found Dr. Glass to be very candid and very open. And I just appreciated that and the information that he shared in response to the questions I raised. So I think we have someone that is going to be open and willing to work with us. So just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Senator.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Senator Smith.
Not to belabor the point, but I just want to follow up with Senator Griffith. I had the same experience. Not only he's actually, I know a number of the folks that he grew up with in the community. He went to Blair High School in my district, but I had a great candid conversation with him and just was thoroughly impressed with his qualifications and his dedication. So I just wanted to foot stomp that and say I support his nomination and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Likewise, thank you. Anyone else? I can't see anyone. If there is, speak up. Okay, if not, thank you, Dr. Glass. And we will move on to the agenda. Next up is the Maryland Insurance Administration, Kathleen Bahrain and Senator West.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I really feel doubly blessed. Last week I presented to you Bob Scholes, who I've known for 50 years. And this week I get to present to you Kathleen Bahrain, who I've known for over 30 years. When I was the president of the Young Lawyers section of the Baltimore City Bar Association, Kathleen was on my executive council. And then she stepped up about 3 years later and was the head of the Young Lawyers section herself. She did a great job, was always reliable, and has been a good friend ever since. During her tenure as the Young Lawyers section chair, she did something I wish I had thought of 3 years earlier. She invited the representatives of all of the specialty bar associations to join the Young Lawyers section council. So that year, the Gay and Lesbian Bar Association, the Bar Association, the Franklin Bourne Bar Association, the Monumental City Bar Association, the Alliance of Black Women Attorneys, the Women's Law Center, all joined the executive council of the Young Lawyers section, which really made it a very all-inclusive organization. During that period, her father was the state insurance commissioner, and she has always specialized in insurance regulatory law. I doubt there's a lawyer in Maryland who knows more about insurance regulatory law than Kathleen Bahrain. So it's great that she's the new insurance commissioner. Then my only regret is every time I drive by her lawn in an election year, it seems to have a Democratic lawn sign on the lawn. But other than that, I have no reservations about her nomination. And I give you Kathleen.
Thank you, Senator. Ms. Bahrain?
Mr. Chair, can I say something?
Yes.
Hi, real quick, Mr. Chair, and I just want to meet all of the previous speakers in reference to Dr. Glass, but Commissioner Bahrain replaces a very vibrant character, and we know in Al Redmer. And, you know, there was some skepticism to see if she'd be able to fill those shoes. Serving on Senate Finance, the Maryland Insurance Administration come before us a lot. And I've had several conversations with the commissioner, and we've definitely received the upgrade in Commissioner Bahrain, and she's very much accessible and very pleasant to work with. And so I just wanted to share that with the committee and given my experience in working with her in such a short period of time.
Thank you, Senator. Ms. Bahrain?
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chris, for those kind words. And thank you, Senator Hayes, for those kind words. Chair Young, Vice Chair Beidel, President Ferguson, President Pro Tem Griffith, Senators. For the record, I'm Kathleen Bahrain, and I am thankful to Governor Hogan for appointing me in May of 2020 to fill the remainder of the current term of the Insurance Commissioner, which ends in May 2023. I thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you today as you consider that appointment. In the last 10 months that have elapsed since I took office, I've had the pleasure of speaking to and working with many of you regarding COVID-19 and other insurance-related issues, legislative proposals, constituent concerns, and in some cases, my background and my qualifications for and my approach to this role. I sincerely hope that what you've heard and observed gives you confidence that with me as Commissioner, the MIA has and will continue to carry out its statutory duties with the same degree of diligence, transparency, fairness, and faithfulness to the law that you've come to rely on. As you know, the MIA has a very seasoned and experienced workforce, particularly among the senior staff, many of whom I worked with during the 5 years that I served as principal counsel to the MIA. All of the associate commissioners and career staff remain in place, and that foundation has not only allowed my own transition to be relatively seamless, but has also assured consistency, continuity, and full functionality throughout the pandemic. I know that you have a full agenda this evening, so I'm not going to burden your time to list, the myriad of things that we've done in the last 10 months to address COVID and other insurance issues, or some of the various initiatives that I've started since I took office in May of this past year. But I would like to highlight a few things that I hope give you a flavor for my approach as Commissioner. Now, I'm a lawyer by training, and I've practiced law for almost 35 years, 20 of them in insurance regulation. So my approach to any issue really is to research, analysis, and try to develop consensus and reach resolution. I believe in round tables. And while I will make the hard decisions and stand behind them and my people, we approach things as a team at the MIA, because it is critically important that as we interpret and apply laws and decide where to focus resources, that we have diversity of thought and experience and perspective at the table, because I don't know everything and I don't have experience in everything. And if I try to act in isolation or in a silo, I will miss perspectives and issues and leave something or someone behind. And I don't ever want to do that. The need for this approach is particularly critical in light of COVID, but we don't have boots on the ground in the same way that we have traditionally. You know, I meet with licensees and stakeholders, representatives. I participate in national and regional meetings of insurance regulators routinely. And I also gain insight into consumer concerns and insurance issues from you and other officials. But the MIA has always kept its ear to the ground from a combination of consumer complaints and inquiries, and most broadly through the public activities of our consumer education and advocacy unit, which pre-COVID typically participated in over 500 public in-person events a year. And then that just stopped a year ago. And so an important focus for me over the past 10 months has been how to replace that, both as a source of information to us and as outreach. So some of the first things that I've worked on as commissioner really have been expanding our virtual presence and capability, from the build out of a virtual disaster center to sponsoring virtual open houses to launching our Ask MIA, that's MIA, MIA campaign that seeks to engage and attract more consumers. We have a really cool Bitmoji that we tout as our newest consumer service representative. But most significantly, and what I wanted to share with you, because I hope you'll participate in them, are a series of listening sessions. I've had a bunch of public information sessions since taking office, sessions on network adequacy and mental health parity. And during those sessions in particular, we heard the experiences of providers and insureds in seeking coverage for mental health services. And we heard their frustration when they felt that they had hit a wall. But my folks knew that the MIA could help identify windows and doors in those walls. And so we developed an interactive educational program that was targeted at providers and patients to discuss how to access mental health services, that teed off of shared stories and scenarios to make it more relatable and accessible. And it was really well received and very well attended. And that was the inspiration for 6 listening sessions that the MIA will be sponsoring over the remainder of this year. And we put together our topics with input from a variety of sources. And I worked with Jean Ransom at MedChi. I talked to Michelle Eberly at the Maryland Health Exchange, and and a number of other folks. And our very first session that I'm excited about is on March 31st in honor of Women's History Month. The topic is accessing healthcare through insurance for women and their dependents. And you'll hear from a variety of panels across the state, hospitals, community health centers, individual providers, and consumers. And as I said, I hope you'll join us as well. There are a number of other initiatives that we're working on. I don't want to tax your time this evening to talk about them, but one of the things I will tell you is that pretty soon in your mailbox, you're going to get a newsletter for your constituents. I was on the phone with Tom Bernoga, who many of you know is a member of the Prince George's County Council, and he was asking about MIA resources. He mentioned that he'd like to, he would be interested in having information for his constituent newsletter. And that made me realize that another way we can reach out more broadly to consumers is to leverage you and your newsletters. So what we are going to be putting together is something that's very neutral, simple content that will allow you to pass that right on to your constituents so they are aware of MIA virtual events and consumer resources. I've had the opportunity to work with Senator Hayes on some initiatives that we're doing to look at InsurTech accelerators, creating more opportunities in education and in job careers, keying off of some of the work that former Commissioner Redmer did at the University of Baltimore. I serve on a number of state commissions with some of you, Senator Eckert, Senator Feldman, in particular, including the Star Reform Commission. And although I'm a relatively new commissioner, I've been very fortunate in that, having served as the principal counsel to the MIA for 5 years and being known to the NAIC, I've had the opportunity to have some leadership appointments really early on in my tenure. And I say that because what it means for the state of Maryland is that we have a voice at the right tables. And that's been hugely, rewarding for me, particularly in some of the committees like the Special Committee on Race and Insurance, and being vice chair of the NAIC's newest task force on climate and resiliency, where I'm focused on really the financial impact to insurers of climate change and the change to those risks. I was particularly honored to be chosen, and I know, Senator Pinsky, you and I are kind of working on a different kind of issue right now, but I'd be very excited to work with you and pick your brain about the environmental issues and the climate change issues, because I've been appointed as one of 2 state insurance commissioners who, along with the head of the Federal Insurance Office within the Department of Treasury, represents the United States on the steering committee of the EU-US Insurance Dialogue Project, which looks at cross-border impacts of regulation. Of course, outside of the US, there's been a tremendous focus, much more focus than in the US, on the impact of climate change and its consequences to insurance companies, and looking at investments and things of that nature. And since this is going to be such a focus of the Biden administration, I think we all will have a real opportunity through that project to have a voice at that table. Our jurisdiction ends at the state border, but companies operate across states and national borders. And so these positions, and therefore they give us a voice in those forums. I'm nervous, but and so I what's going on, but I will tell you that I didn't seek this role. But when the governor's office called, I surprised myself by how immediately and deeply I responded, and how quickly I've come to love and appreciate this position. In his February 23rd testimony before Congress, Merrick Garland, who's now U.S. Attorney General, said something that really struck me. He said, and I'm going to quote, "I feel an obligation to the country to pay back. This is the highest, best use of my own set of skills to pay back." And that's how I feel. I know how much my dad loved being commissioner, and the sense of true service that he felt in that role. And now I too have had that experience, that honor, that privilege of being in this role for the last 10 months.
Kathleen, I hate to interrupt, but why don't we let the senators ask you some questions?
My apologies.
Senator Lamb?
Sure. Thank you.
Senator Lamb?
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ms. Brain. It was a pleasure to have the opportunity to talk to you at length over the interim, and I appreciate the time that you took to speak with me. And, I know from your background and everything that you conveyed to me that you had provided a strong degree of reassurance. You have the knowledge and competency, and also are well qualified to carry out the duties of this position. The only thing I want to bring up is concerning your personal views, and this has come up before this committee last year as well, where you've had some social media posts that were very strongly anti-choice and also anti-LGBT that were in many ways quite disparaging before you had taken them down. What I want to get some sense of reassurance here is your ability to be able to separate your personal views from your official responsibilities, and in particular with the decision-making that you would be undertaking as part of regulatory rulemaking. I'm wondering if you can respond to that.
Sure. You and I have not reviewed, you haven't shared with me, what posts you were talking about or what you consider to be disparaging in particularly, I know that you had raised a question last time about transgendered individuals, and I tried to assure you then, as I did in our personal conversation, that I don't have some of the views that I think you're concerned that I'm having, but, and I, said anytime you'd like, I'd happily, sit down with a beverage of your choice and talk about that. But to your real point, which is regardless of what my personal views are, how would they play into my role as commissioner? The answer is not at all, because I took an oath of office, and my oath of office is to faithfully uphold the laws of the state, of the state of Maryland, and to uphold the Constitution of Maryland, the Declaration of Rights, and the U.S. Constitution. And so my job is to enforce the laws as you write them. And most importantly, as I've mentioned to you, we have a seasoned, experienced staff that I haven't changed at all. And I rely on them and their views to assure that not only will I carry out, but that I'm not missing anything because of my own experiences or lack of experiences. So
To that point, can you articulate any safeguards that you've implemented to ensure that your personal views on these issues do not influence the policy or regulatory decisions made at MIA?
well, I don't know anything that I've done specifically with respect to that, but I can tell you that mostly what I've done is I've not changed anything. So on a day-to-day basis, the work of the administration as it's carried out is carried out through delegated authority to mostly through the associate commissioners. So there are matters that rise to my attention, but when we discuss those matters, I can't think of one thing that's arisen in the 10 months that I've been commissioner that has specifically addressed any insurance regulatory issue that relates to anything that would be pro-choice in nature, abortion in nature, or transgender rights. So I'm not sure what controls I would put in place. I think the controls exist within the structure of the administration, and the fact that if I were they do something absolutely insane, which I would never do, changing a protocol or suddenly, not allowing something to occur or denying a claim, I'm never the last word. The structure of the law itself is that if I were to do something inappropriate, the judiciary is the last word.
So an example of this is, for example, the Affordable Care Act requires that companies cover a large number of essential community providers. Do you believe that Planned Parenthood, which is an essential community provider, and do you believe that they are and commit to protecting that designation for coverage of Planned Parenthood, for example?
Well, sure. I mean, I don't make that designation.
That's where some of that decision making can factor into play.
Senator Lamb, they were the first people that I called to invite to my forum on listening session on women. They are a panel provider because that is a voice that needs to be heard. And absolutely, I have no interest in quelling that voice or in any way interfering or I wouldn't want Planned Parenthood to go away. My personal views and moral views don't even factor into what I think the law ought to do, much to the horror of many of my own friends. I think Joe Biden, who is also a Catholic and who I supported for president, gets it exactly right in terms of where the line is between what people may think in their own moral life versus what the law does and how we support the law. And I took an oath to support the law. So let me give you assurances that the first provider group that I invited to the panel to talk about women's access to health care was Planned Parenthood, and they will be there.
Okay, and the last question is, I guess over the last few years, can you get us information on how many complaints MIA has received regarding discrimination involving gender or sexual orientation or gender identity, and how those complaints have resolved, and whether there are any positive or negative trends over time? Are you able to provide that information to us?
I can't provide it to you off the top of my head. I know that elevating to Senator. I know that Commissioner Redmer had reached out to several members of the General Assembly to ask whether or not you wanted the MIA to create or develop some sort of a task force or workforce to actually look at that issue. And he had shared with me that no one had taken him up on that. I'm happy to do that. I will tell you that in June, one of my listening sessions really does have to do with the kinds of experiences that people are having, particularly transgendered people. So I don't have that complaint data for you. I'm happy to see if we have the complaint data for you, but I can assure you that, part of the communities I want to hear from, and particularly with life and not just health products, but with life products and, annuity products and applications for life insurance, there are areas where particularly transgendered people, experience a lot of discrimination. I've learned this both in my own role as an insurance regulatory lawyer and from some of my colleagues at the NAIC. So it's one of the things we're going to focus on in June as our June topic in celebration of Gay Pride Month.
Okay, yeah, if you could follow up with that information, helpful, so we have a benchmark of information for later on and can monitor this moving forward.
Happy to do so. I'm happy to work with you on a working group. If you have an interest in our, using informational sessions to gather information for you, I would be delighted to work with you on that.
Sure, we'd be happy to work with you.
That's a question. Antonio, you there?
Oh, no, that was from before. Sorry about that, Mr. Chair. Let me know.
Okay. Senator Kelly? I think you're muted, Senator.
Commissioner, I have worked with you and I've had no problems thus far, but it does occur to me, and it gives me some heartburn to think that while you're able to carry out what you see as the state of the law in Maryland right now and to do it fairly, we are not a static government nor a static society. And as we work, because many demographics in our communities, local, state, and national, are inadvertently, in some cases, and in other cases deliberately, treated not equally with all other citizens or residents. And when we're at a point of needing to come to your office because we've got change recommended to us, and we want to know how something would impact, tell us how you would be able to be true to yourself in your own personal, what seem to be biases in a number of cases where just whole demographics are concerned, at the same time that you would tell us the truth as you know it, and the law as it applies when we are trying to determine how to make changes that are fair to everyone.
So two things. I would say, first of all, again, I'm not sure what exactly the biases are. I mean, I have members of my own family that are part of the LGBTQ plus community, and including people who have gone through sexual reassignment surgery and are marvelously happy as a result of it. So I'm not sure that I have the thoughts or biases that people may be concerned that I'm having. I'm, again, happy to have that conversation with you at your convenience at any time. But what I would tell you is that if you come to me for information about impact or what other states are doing, I would handle that question like I handle every question. The content is irrelevant. My duty, my goal, the way I've handled everything since I've been there is really content neutral. Whether I happen to agree or disagree with any particular initiative that any senator brings to me, my job is to be your resource. It's to take my 30 years of experience, my relationships, my resources at the NEIC and elsewhere, and put them at your feet. And so what I would do is what I've always done, which is call together my team and talk about what have other states done, what information do we have, how can we, how do we answer the senator's question, how do we give them that perspective. My personal views about any topic have absolutely nothing to do with my job, which is to put at your feet my experience, my resources, and that of the entire MIA.
Well, could you tell us how you manage to be true to yourself and what you truly believe about the state of various demographics, at the same time that you would tell us to do something, or that your agency can support us and that you believe the law is right, or the law that we are proposing will work for everybody equally, based on the personal beliefs that you have, that some people are not quite equal or not.
But I don't, Senator, I apologize for interrupting you, but I don't have those beliefs. I don't believe that there's anybody who isn't equal. My Catholicism, my views about pro-life, for example, have absolutely nothing to do with my sense of the dignity and the value of each and every unique human life. There's no human being that I think of as being unequal in any way, shape, or form. And so I'm not sure what the disparities are, the belief system that kind of horrible person you think I am. But I will tell you that none of my views would ever impact my ability to give you whatever you need from the MIA.
Well, I'm not trying to make a judgment about who you are. You simply have revealed in public settings positions that would suggest you may be in one stance given certain demographics. And we just want to be sure. I've never had a bad experience working with you, but now, you know, you were an assistant, you've been acting, and now you're up to have the job represent all Marylanders. We want to be sure that what we see now is what we would get. And I'm wondering how, if you have certain beliefs that certain demographics are somehow unequal or unworthy or not adequate to be served like the rest of us, that you can be true to your own beliefs. We don't want you to be in a struggle psychologically as you try to serve Maryland at the same time that you try to give us advice and to say what the law is in a way that is equal for everybody.
I can only assure you that I don't have beliefs that there's any person or demographic or group that isn't equal and entitled to protection under the law. I don't have those moral views. I don't have those personal views. I don't have those views about anybody. What I can also tell you is that, so I don't have the views to begin with, and I'm not in an internal struggle with regard to any demographic. And what I can only assure you is that my discipline and an entire lifetime of service and history and experience is exactly to the contrary in terms of my recognition of the law as a vehicle that exists to serve all people and all constituents and all demographics. That's why I'm on the committees that I'm on at the NAIC. You know, because I have that background, I have that experience, I have that reputation, and I have no desire to see anything other than, so I'm not going to ever be in a quandary if you come to me to talk about, you know, should we extend these particular, for example, benefits to a particular group, or should we do this, or what will be the impact? I'm not going to be in a constant.
Well, I do feel that you have the intellectual capacity to do the job, and I think you've been doing it as far as I can see, and we deal with insurance in our committee. But it's just that these other concerns are there, and we all are human. And sometimes our belief systems do impact our ability to be seen as being fair for everybody. So we want to be sure you have the opportunity to explain how this works in your case and your own sense of being able to be fair to everyone.
Well, I do appreciate that and the opportunity.
I'm going to have to, excuse me, I'm going to have to cut in at this point. If there are a lot more questions for Ms. Barone, we may have to reschedule at another meeting. I've already had several. They're going to have to leave for other meetings, and we have a long agenda. So let me know if you would like to have Ms. Breen back and we schedule an additional meeting at the end. We can do that,
I'm
but otherwise,
fine, Mr. Chair.
I'm gonna have to move on. So thank you, Ms. Breen. I'm gonna move to the Critical Areas Commission and Andrew Bradshaw.
Thank you very much.
Senator Eckert, yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman Young and Vice Chairman Vital. I am Senator Addie Eckert here today for the record to present to you Andrew Bradshaw. Now let me tell you a little bit about Andrew Bradshaw. He is our newest mayor of the city of Cambridge, and all of you have heard me go on about Cambridge and Dorchester County because we're on the move and we have a lot of things going. Andrew is a Penn State graduate. He's a local businessman, and he focuses as being a financial officer, works on marketing and regulatory compliance with two separate businesses, one including his family's business. He's a very active member of Rescue Volunteer Fire Company And he has worked on a lot of preservation issues, and it's an environmental focus. So I am really thrilled, number one, that we have somebody for the critical areas from Cambridge, but glad to present to you Mayor Andrew Bradshaw.
Senator, I want to thank
Okay.
you, and members of the
Bradshaw.
committee. I want to thank you all as well for having me on this evening to take the nomination from the governor for this position on the Critical Areas Commission. I'm excited to be stepping forward in this role. I think that the Critical Areas Commission has a very important role in the state of Maryland, and its role is particularly important for Cambridge and Dorchester County with the great importance that the Chesapeake Bay and its tributaries have for our community. I don't know if there are any questions for me or if there's anything that needs to be addressed, but I'd be happy to take anything that you have. Thank you all.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments? Senator King, you still have your hand, Kelly, you still have your hand up. Do you have a question for Mr. Bradshaw?
No, I don't.
No? Okay. Anyone else? I don't see any. So thank you very much for being here and good luck. I enjoyed my time on the commission.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Good job.
Thank you, Senator. Nice seeing you.
Good to see you. Thank you. The best.
Thanks.
Okay. Next is the Commission on Civil Rights and Magdalena Navarro and Senator Lee.
Yes, hi, everybody. Hi, committee members. It's my privilege and honor to introduce Magdalena Navarro for membership on the Commission on Civil Rights. She has had a distinguished career at and she currently serves as a senior international program manager, where she oversees and works on portfolios dealing with China, Taiwan, Japan, Mexico, Brazil, and many other countries. She's also served as a policy advisor of the Office of Science and Technology and Policy at the White House during the years of 2012 to 2013. And she has also been a physical scientist, a research biologist, and a biologist at NIST. At NIST, she serves on various different committees, including Women in Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math, which is STEM. And also she is part of the NIST Association of Hispanic Americans. And she is very active in many different areas and committees at NIST. She received her Master's of Science at George Washington University in Engineering Management and Software Engineering. And she has a Bachelor's of Science from the University of Puerto Rico in Biology and completed a Bachelor's in Science in Biology with a minor in Chemistry at the University of Maryland at College Park. I give you Ms. Navarro.
Thank you, Senator Lee, Mr. Sherman, and the Executive Nominations Committee for considering my nomination for the Civil Rights Commission. This is my very first time. I came to Maryland in the mid-'80s to study my undergraduate degree at the University of Maryland in biology, and like Senator Susan Lee mentioned, because I wanted to do research, and staying in Puerto Rico wasn't going to give me the opportunities in doing research in medicine and other key technology areas that I was interested in. I continue my education and my graduate degrees at Hopkins and GW because I love to study. Landed a job at NIH in the Mental Health Institute in more clinical research, and then moved to NIH in different areas of science, which is one of my passions. But another of my passions is that during my career, I have been involved in promoting science for underrepresented groups, in particular minority students. I get very involved in the high schools, in colleges, and so on. And it definitely will be my privilege and my honor to serve in this Civil Rights Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? It looks like not. So thank you very much for being here. and
Thank
good
you.
luck. Next, we'll move to the Maryland Community Health Resources Commission and Dr. McQueith and Senator Klossmeyer.
Thank you for that introduction, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to say that in looking, I want you all to take a few minutes and just look at her resume. She's been all over the world and has done so many great things. She graduated from Harvard with her public health PhD. She got her master's at North Carolina, and she went to Johns Hopkins University. So, and talking to her, I know that she went to Bryn Mawr and for school, and she is a good old Perry Hall girl. No, good Perry Hall girl. I'll take the old away. And I think she is going to be a valuable asset to the commission. And also she was in the Peace Corps even. So with that, I'm just going to introduce her wherever she might be.
Okay, Dr. McQueith, are you there?
She
Coming in now.
Are you in?
She's in, she's attending by phone. I don't know why, maybe it's not, she had to call in. I see her here.
She said this afternoon when I spoke to her that she was having some problems with the electronics, and that is the case when you least expect it. But she's a
Let me know if she gets back in, and we'll give her an opportunity.
Okay.
And I do need to jump off because I have another meeting going on. So, but she's
We'll let her in if she gets back. All right, the State Board of Elections, Severn. And,
I think she's waiting at.
She's here.
Yes, you can see her.
Oh, there she is.
Is she here?
She needs to unmute.
Yeah, she's.
She has messaged me that she's having trouble figuring out how to unmute right now. Oh, look, maybe there she is. She can't. She's having technical difficulties.
Well, let me know if she gets in. I'm going to move on otherwise. Senator Hershey, are you here?
Mr. Chairman, I think she may be good to go. Let's see, she's connected now.
Okay, Dr. McQueith.
Never mind.
Okay, move on. Senator Hershey, are you here? If not, Severn Miller will just let you go and introduce yourself. Here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Severn Miller. I recently relocated from, I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes. Proceed.
Okay. I'm Severn Miller. I appreciate this opportunity to meet with the committee. I'm really gratified and honored to be nominated for this position. I'm an attorney. I practiced in Baltimore for 15, 18 years. I worked as the general counsel for Governor Ehrlich's reelection campaign, during which I was involved in additional learning on election law and election process. I served in the Bush administration at the Federal Transit Administration as chief counsel, and have been in a private company since then doing public infrastructure development around the country. But I have been involved in election law for quite a number of years now. I feel that I start from more than zero in terms of learning about election law in Maryland and its application. And again, I'm very honored to be nominated for this position, and I'm grateful for this opportunity to address you.
Okay, are there any questions for Mr. Miller? I see no hands. So if not, thank you very much for being here and having patience with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Move on. Thank you. We'll move on to Sky Woodward and Senator Bidle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had the pleasure of meeting Sky Woodward about a year ago and was very impressed with her knowledge of the law and her career. She's had a distinguished career since being admitted to the Maryland Bar in 1992. She's currently, since 2013, an equity partner in Brantley, Aaron, Bolton, Cummings LLP in DC. She's received so many awards if you take the time to look at her resume, including Top 100 Women 2 times in 2011 and 2017. So it's my pleasure to introduce Sky Woodward and welcome her to hopefully to the Board of Elections. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Ms. Woodward?
Yes, thank you, Senator Young. Can you hear me and see me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that kind introduction, Senator Bidle. I appreciate that. And thank you to you, Senator Young, for chairing the committee. And to all the senators here, I appreciate your time and, of course, your expertise in this area in which I am hoping to become a board member for the State Board of Election. I'm particularly grateful to Governor Hogan for the nomination. I really appreciate the assistance of his nomination secretary, Chris Cavey, and his staff. I also want to give a nod to Ms. McConville, who keeps everything going for your committee. I almost had a snafu today with my husband having a surgery, and she was working with me to make sure I could make it, and I really appreciate that. Just very briefly, as Senator Bidle noted, I've been a lawyer in Maryland for a long time, about 29 years, and I've had some public service. I've served at one time on the state's task force on universal preschool education, and I was a member of the Maryland Appellate Court's Judicial Nominating Commission. I also currently serve as board member on the Helping Out Mission in Baltimore, and I'm vice president of the Parish Council at Church of the Nativity in Timonium. I only give you these pieces of background so that you can appreciate that I've served many times on many committees with lots of people, and I know what it means to work with a group. In this instance, it would be a group of 5 board members, and also to work with extremely competent staff, very professional staff, which the State Board of Elections very much enjoys. Like Mr. Miller, whom I've known for some time, I'm no stranger to Maryland election law. I served in 2007 to 2008 as outside general counsel to the Maryland Republican Party. This most recent general election, I served as an election judge in Anne Arundel County at Chesapeake High School. I've been a poll watcher for any number of gubernatorial and US Senate campaigns and a number of elections. I've taught election law and voting center requirements to poll workers and lawyers, and I've advised a slate committee on campaign finance issues. So again, I'm no stranger to this area. I'm certainly no expert, but definitely not a stranger. And I'm truly honored to have been nominated. I look forward to the opportunity to serve the people of Maryland in this important role. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? I'm looking across. I do not see any. So thank you very much and good luck.
Thank you.
Now we will move on to the Maryland Environmental Service and Shelley Heller and Senator Hershey again. I don't think he's here, so Ms. Heller, if you want to come in, you can introduce yourself and make a few remarks.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Young and Vice Chair Bidle and the Executive Nominating Committee. My name is Shelley Heller, and I am honored and humbled to be considered for an MES board appointment, especially during this time of transition and reconfiguration for MES. My managerial and financial experience align with the needs of MES at this time, and my interests support the MES mission. I am currently the County Administrator of Kent County. I oversee all aspects of local government, to include water and wastewater operations, environmental operations, which includes a regional landfill operated by MES, finance, human resources, legislative initiatives, policy development and execution, procurement, and much more. Additionally, I welcome the opportunity to bring the rural Maryland perspective to the board by representing the Eastern Shore and specifically Kent County. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Again, I see none. So thank you very much for being here and for being so patient.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the Board of Directors of the Maryland Legal Services Corporation and Catherine Bledsoe and Senator Hester. Is Senator Hester, are you here?
I am here. Thank you very much.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. For the record, Senator Katie Fry Hester, honored to represent District 9, Carroll and Howard counties. Tonight is my distinct privilege to introduce Catherine Bledsoe, resident of Ellicott City, to the Maryland Legal Services Corporation Board of Directors. Catherine is an Assistant Attorney General to the Higher Education Division, where she represents universities in the University System of Maryland in a broad range of matters in state and federal courts. Ms. Bledsoe is deeply committed to public service, serving as co-chair of the Civil Legal Aid Funding Committee of the Attorney General's COVID-19 Access to Justice Task Force, and chairperson of the Pro Bono and Access to Legal Services Committee for the Bar Association of Baltimore City. When we had the chance to catch up this afternoon, Ms. Bledsoe was telling me about all the great stuff that she'd done in the past year to help us recover from the COVID-19 pandemic in terms of pro bono services. And so with that, thank you, Ms. Bledsoe, for your commitment to public service. It's my pleasure to introduce you to the members of the Executive Nominations Committee. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'd first like to thank Governor Hogan for appointing me to this board. And secondly, I would like to also thank Senator Hester for introducing me and for supporting my appointment. I look forward to serving on MLSC's board and helping it continue its important mission. And I'm happy to answer any questions folks have.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments? And again, I see none. So thank you very much for being here and being patient.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and we will move to Phyllis Scalatar, Dr. Scalatar, if I'm pronouncing that right, and Senator Lee.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Madam Vice Chairman. It's a real honor and privilege to introduce Dr. Phyllis Scalatar for nomination to the Maryland Legal Services Corporation. She has had public and private sector experience in identifying growth opportunities and formulating strategies to help build businesses and different operations in the fields of things like information security, healthcare, biotechnology, and many other fields. She has been a program manager for Dun & Bradstreet. She's also worked with FEMA and also with the Department of Interior, many other agencies. She has a PhD from Catholic University in educational technology and a master's in communications and business administration from the University of Maryland at College Park. And she also has a BA for secondary education at the University of Maryland at College Park. And we believe that she will make an important contributions to Maryland Legal Services Corporation and also to its mission and work. And I give you Dr. Phyllis Scalatar. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Doctor, are you there?
I did say,
I am.
There she is. Okay,
Oh,
go.
My husband would consider that a benefit. I want to thank you very much for the opportunity to volunteer and to serve. It sounds like I've had a hard time keeping a job, but I've been in the government service for most of my career. I actually founded a federal agency, so I'm familiar with some of the frustrations that can occur. But relative to the Maryland Legal Services Corporation, I've had the dubious distinction of dealing with people whose concerns pretty much run the gamut. Divorce, disabilities, finding social services, resolution of debt collection issues, financial issues, alimony, and I've represented some people in court, not as an attorney or a paralegal, which I happen to be as well, but as a court-appointed fiduciary for them. So I'm very sympathetic to the fact that what we have learned over the past year is that a definition of poor is changing, and to some extent, a absence of education about what is available is pretty predominant. And so if I can bring my knowledge of government, how it operates and often how it doesn't, and services that can be made available to an, unfortunately, I think an ever increasing population in the state, I would consider it a privilege and an honor and a very personally satisfying opportunity to help people who need help.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments? Again, I see none, so thank you for being here. Appreciate it. And
Mr.
we'll
Chairman,
move on to the
Mr. Chairman, our Dr.
Yes.
McQueeth is available now to talk, I think.
Oh, okay. Dr. McQueeth?
Hi, can you hear me now? I sounded like the Sprint commercial
yes.
alone in my basement. So I apologize for that. Thank you to Governor Hogan for nominating me, and thank you, Senator Klossmeyer, for the lovely introduction. Thank you, members of the Senate Executive Nominations Committee, for having me here today to introduce myself. I'm Sadia McKeith. I'm the Director of Community Health at the Trust for Public Land and co-founder of a small LLC called Hyphen Health. I'm thrilled at the opportunity to be joining the Community Health Resources Commission. I've been long aware of their impactful work of the commission and supporting organizations to create a healthier Maryland. As the Senator mentioned, whether globally or locally, I've committed my life's work to strengthening public health systems, supporting health equity in vulnerable communities, and of course, improving the conditions we live, work, and play in that create our health long before we even reach the doctor's office. So my family moved to Maryland in 1991 from India, and March signaled 30 years of time spent connected to the state. And while I've lived in a number of places, I've always come home to Maryland. And with this nomination, I'm honored at the opportunity to support a healthy and thriving Maryland and serve as commissioner on the Maryland Community Health Resources Commission. Thank you for your time, and apologies for the technical difficulties. Happy to take any questions you may have.
Well, at least we got you. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Appears not. So thank you for being persistent and being with us. Thank you. Okay, we are going to move on to the Professional Standards and Teacher Education Board. We have 5 appointees to that. Senator McCray, you have 2, so I'll let you do those in order. And we'll start with Dr. Deanne Kirby. Senator McCray, are you here?
I think the Senator McCray had to step away for another meeting.
Okay. Then Dr. Kirby, introduce yourself and go from there. Thank you.
Okay. So, I'm sorry. I'm having a little technical difficulties. Can you hear me?
Yes. We can hear you. Proceed.
Okay, wonderful. So good evening to everyone, and thank you, Senator Young, and to all the members of the Executive Nominations Committee. And I appreciate you considering my nomination to the Professional Standards and Teacher Education Board. It is truly a humbling feeling to be having the opportunity to serve the state of Maryland in this position. I've worked in education in the state of Maryland for over 20 years. I've worked at the Community College of Baltimore County, Baltimore City Public School System. And now I am the Deputy Chief Information Officer at Coppin State University in Baltimore, Maryland. I've been very fortunate to be a trailblazer in the area of educational technology and in online learning, and have been very fortunate to help many schools and organizations in increasing the use of technology to support academic initiatives and education. I've served on several local and national organizations to ensure equitable educational access, particularly in the areas of technology and in online learning. I truly believe in the transformative power of education, and I consider it my mission to make sure that all persons receive high quality education. If confirmed, I pledge to serve with integrity and a strong commitment to public service. Thank you again for considering me to this board appointment.
I'm not sure if we lost the chair, but Ms. Kerbine, thank you very much. Sorry that Senator McCray had to leave. I know that he wanted to introduce you. Next, we'll go on to Melita Kitchen. And I'm Senator from District 12.
That's me.
That's good. Thank you. Thank you, Senator Lamb.
Thank you, Vice Chair Bidel. It's a real pleasure to introduce a constituent of mine, Melita Kitchen, who has a long background in education, everything from early childhood education to elementary education to middle school education, specifically in math. She earned 2 master's degrees, one at Towson University in mathematics education, and also one more recently from American University in education policy and leadership. My only disappointment is that she is now teaching in a school that's outside of District 12. Although she taught for many, many years at Running Brook Elementary School, we always welcome her back in District 12 as well. It's my pleasure to introduce Ms. Kitchen for the Professional Standards and Teacher Education Board.
Thank you, Mr. Lamb. I'm excited to continue to serve in this role. It's been a pleasure looking at and making teaching better for educators across the state. So I'm honored to continue to serve and honored by your kind words. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Am I back? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. My dog came by and pulled the plug out. My computer went off. Senator Bidel, I assume you picked up while I was going?
Well, after a second or two, I caught on. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Well, can you still hear me?
Yes.
I'm having computer trouble and I don't have a picture. Who did you just hear?
We just heard Ms. Kitchen.
Ms. Kitchen. Okay, then. Thank you for.
We're on number 14 now.
Okay, yes. Monica Roebuck and Senator Peters, if you're still here.
I think he had to leave too, Chairman.
Yeah, I think he did.
I'm here.
Yeah. Please step in and introduce yourself.
Good evening, and I want to thank the Governor's Office for this appointment, and I want to thank the committee, Executive Committee, and Senator Young for your time. This is a great honor to be considered for this committee and for this position. It is a great honor. I'm a little nervous. Let me take a breath.
Oh, that's okay. Relax.
So I'm a teacher in Prince George's County. I've served in PG County for 21 years, and I've worked as an elementary and a middle school teacher. I've served in several leadership positions, including mentor teacher and grade level chair. I currently serve as an ADVIC coordinator at Charles Carroll Middle School. I've also been very involved in the community, including the City of Bowie Education Committee, and I currently serve on the Education Committee with the NAACP. I believe this is a very important role because the future of our state will depend on an educated workforce. and we have to have teachers in place that can teach the next generation. So I take access and education and equity very seriously, and I really appreciate, again, this opportunity to serve on this committee. My goal is to help increase teacher certification and attract the best and the brightest for our children. And so, again, thank you so much for your time. And if you have any comments or questions, I welcome them. And thanks again.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Well, we're lucky to have great teachers. I was myself, I took a leave of absence to run for politics 48 years ago. It's been a long time.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Take care. Next, we have Sandra Skordalos and Senator Salling. I see you there.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I want to thank Sandra for stepping up to the plate. She is a long life educator and committed to providing positive education and being a great teacher, a coach, and her education background. She is she has been at the American University, UMBC, University of Baltimore, Johns Hopkins University, Morgan State, and Towson University. She has the credentials, and I do a great job. So I just want to introduce you, and she can say her last thing because I'm not going to ask her. And thank you again.
Okay, thank you. Proceed.
Yeah, it's pronounced Skordalos. And I appreciate the Executive Nominations Committee for considering my reconfirmation to the Professional Standards and Education Board. We've started some really important work there in the last 4 or 5 years that I've been associated with the board, especially with the new blueprint for Maryland's future. Looking forward to working through some of those changes that we're going to be seeing in certification, as well as teacher prep programs. And I'm excited for this opportunity to continue that work.
Okay, thank you very much. And are there any questions or comments? If not, thank you very much and good luck. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Sandra.
You're welcome.
Okay, we have the State Board of Psychologists, and the first one up is Dr. Shelley McDermott. Senator Ferguson.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, it is a pleasure to be here with you. I know it's been a long night. Dr. McDermott's resume speaks for itself. She is incredibly talented at Kennedy Krieger, hails from Texas to Oregon to here, and we are blessed to have her here in the 46th district. I think a neighbor on the other side of the park, and strongly endorse her nomination to the board.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. President. Dr. McDermott.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited to join the Board of Psychologists, and I'm really excited to get started. This is all new for me, so looking forward to it.
Okay, very, very good. Thank you. Any questions or Dr. McDermott? Thank you for being here and having patience tonight. Good luck. Okay, we have Dr. Kimberly Sands.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Senator Antonio Hayes. I know that there was a young lady that was trying to tune in District 45. I'm not sure if you meant to skip a Wyona Taylor or you was going.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I skip her?
Yes, you did.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I had her check because I was going to take her early. Senator McRae. Dr. Winona Taylor and Senator McRae. Is he here?
He's not here, but he sends his strong support.
Okay, right. Dr. Taylor. Dr. Taylor? Well, if she comes back before we're finished, we'll...
She's there, but she's probably muted.
She's there. She's right next to you on the screen.
Right, and her volume isn't turned up. I could hear her very, very slightly, so you might need to come back to her.
Okay, if she gets in, let me know and we'll come back to her. And then we'll go to Dr. Sands Shangren And,
No, you're skipping number 17.
oh, I called her and we went
did
back. Yes, Shelley McDermott, Dr. McDermott. Did call her. Is she here?
Yeah.
We did Dr. McDermott. I
Yeah,
think
we did Dr.
on
McDermott.
18.
I thought so. Okay, Senator Jennings, are you here? If not, Dr. Sens-Jengren, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, would you like to introduce yourself and say a few words?
My name is Dr. Kim Sanchagren. I am a lawyer and a psychologist, and I'm really excited to become a member of the board, especially as psychology has become more and more involved in telehealth practices. So I'm really looking forward to this opportunity.
Okay, are there any questions or comments? If not, thank you, and thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
And we will move to Dr. Brenda Terry Leonard and Senator Pinsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Dr. Terry Leonard, psychologist. She got a BA and a MA and a PhD at Howard University here in Washington, Northeast Washington. She now works at Georgetown University in the Department of Psychiatry. She has a long history as a licensed psychologist, treating adolescents and a number of other people. I think the board would be well served by having her voice, her view, and her experience and lens on the board of psychologists. So we welcome her today.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Leonard.
Good evening. Thank you, Senator Pinsky, for the introduction. Good evening, Chairman Young and Vice Chairman Biddle and all of the members of the committee. As indicated, I'm Brenda Terry Leonard, licensed psychologist, and I'm pleased to appear before the board today. And I would like to provide a brief overview of my background. I am licensed in Maryland for a little more than 20 years. I am also licensed in the District of Columbia for over 19 years. I have extensive experience providing clinical services to children, adults, and families across the developmental spectrum. I've conducted play therapy, individual psychotherapy, group therapy, psychological evaluations, and consultation in a range of settings, including a public school, a private full-day special education placement, outpatient mental health centers, and a residential facility. I've served at local universities as an adjunct professor and as a clinical coordinator for practicum and internship students. In my current position as a clinical psychologist with the Wellbeing for the Center for the Wellbeing and Student Environment, the Y Center at MedStar Georgetown University Hospital, and as an assistant professor in the Medical Center at Georgetown, I provide early childhood mental health consultation at an area public charter school and provide clinical supervision for the doctoral externship program at Georgetown in outpatient psychiatry. I thank Governor Hogan for the nomination, and it would be an honor to serve on the Board of Examiners of Psychologists. And if confirmed, I look forward to serving the interests of the citizens of Maryland and ensuring the ethical and legal provision of psychological services. So thank you again to the chair and vice chair and for the nominating committee. And I ask for your support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions for Dr. Leonard? Seeing none, thank you for being here and thank you for your patience tonight. We will move on to the Board of Trustees, the Office of the Public Defender, and try to get this right. Mandeep Chahabra and Senator Riley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Mandeep Chabra is a graduate from Boston University for his undergraduate, University of Maryland Law for his law degree, and for the past 26 years has been a sole practitioner serving the residents of Anne Arundel County. He's uniquely qualified to serve as a member of the Board of Trustees for the Office of Public Defender, and I highly recommend him.
Okay, thank you, Senator. Mr. Chahabra.
Good evening. My name is Mandeep Chabra, and Senator Riley has been very kind in giving a good
history of my experiences. I've been a lifelong Maryland resident and look forward to helping with the Board of Trustees for the Public Defender's Office in the capacity as a board member.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments? If not, thank you very much for being here, and look forward to you serving. Next is Karen Jones, and Senator, I don't believe Senator Jennings was here. So Ms. Jones, if you're here, come in and introduce yourself and make a few comments.
Hi, good afternoon. Yes, I am here. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and to the committee. My name is Karen Jones. I'm a criminal defense attorney. I've been in practice for over 30 years. My office is located in Bel Air, Hartford County. I live in Baltimore County. I am married, 2 beautiful daughters. My practice is confined to criminal defense. I think that I have certainly a unique experience to help with the board position. I'm flattered by the appointment, and I certainly look forward to working with the board. And should someone come on, some senator, hopefully Senator Jennings, I certainly hope that he will approve my appointment, and I hope the committee will as well. And of course, if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, I'm sure if the senator was here, he would have said some nice things about you, but we're running late tonight, and some people have had to move around.
All right. Well, thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Senator Young, are you able to try Winona Taylor again? I think she has resolved her technical issues.
If she's here, we're more than glad to take her.
There she is. Oh. We still can't hear her. Okay.
Okay. Then we'll go to.
Is she unmuted, Mr.
She was. So I don't know what's going on.
Otherwise, we'll go into the Public Service Commission and Anthony O'Donnell and Senator Bailey.
Very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. It's my honor this evening to be able to introduce the Honorable Tony O'Donnell, who, as we all know, is a Navy veteran. Mr. O'Donnell represented St. Mary's County for 22 years as a delegate representing District 29C. He has been a member of the Maryland Public Service Commission since his appointment in 2016 until now. He is a very proud and distinguished member of the American Legion Post number 274 for the past 33 years. He is a devoted husband, father of 3, very proud grandfather of 5. I respectfully request a favorable recommendation for Mr. Anthony O'Donnell to the Public Service Commission. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Tony?
Thank you, Chairman Young, Vice Chairman Vital, Mr. President. Good to see you all again. I appreciate it. I want to thank Governor Hogan for reappointing me to the Public Service Commission, and I hope that you will be able to support my renomination. I've done a lot of work over the last 4 years. I continue my leadership, and I apologize if there's outside noise. Someone just started a chainsaw in my neighbor's yard, so I apologize for that.
We've had all kinds of strange things. That's fine. Proceed.
I know you're tired, and I know I'll be very brief, but I'll just say I continue my national leadership. This year, I'll become the president of the Mid-Atlantic Conference of Regulatory Utility Commissioners. I served on many national task forces. I got the opportunity to use my position to represent the state of Maryland for national purposes on Capitol Hill, testifying before 2 House committees and 1 Senate committee. And one correction, the senator from St. Mary's County, my good senator and friend, Senator Bailey, Lori and I are blessed with 6 grandchildren now, and we have 1 on the way, so it'll soon be 7. So having said that, I'm not going to belabor my comments, and I'm glad to answer any questions. Of course, you are all welcome to pick up the phone and call me if I can help you with constituent issues at any time, if it's possible, and I will do that for sure.
Okay, thank you. And are there any questions or comments from anyone? Okay. A lot of people are waving to you.
Mr. Chair?
Oh, yes. Oh, I'm sorry, Brian. Senator Feldman.
Yeah. Mr. Commissioner, great to see you as always. Let me just ask you one kind of quick question. First of all, I think you've done a good job 4 years you've been, and I particularly respect the fact that I think early on, you've respected who the policymakers are and who the regulator is. And I remember the first time you came around because, your views sometimes may have been at odds with my own. We served together for many years. And so you made that point, and I think you've lived up to that. But I have this last couple of sessions I've noticed, and maybe you can give me a glimpse into the kind of decision-making process there at the PSC, where historically it was always if there was a letter of information that would come from the PSC. Sometimes if there was some concerns, we in the committees would get a letter of concern outlining some of the areas you thought a bill might be problematic. But I think in recent session or two, I've seen more and more a letter of opposition, not necessarily letters of support, but letters of opposition where you're weighing in, with a position. And I guess I would just ask, and I think I've had this conversation with Chair Stanek, what is the process by which you all make a decision as a commission, as a body, as an entity, a regulator, to weigh in on a piece of legislation with a letter of opposition as opposed to a letter of concern or a letter of information, or for that matter, a letter of support? And so, because we have some letters of opposition last year in this one, and I have to say that's crossing into sort of, I think, that space that I mentioned at the outset. So Tony, what's involved internally within the commission before there's a decision made? Is it a vote amongst the commissioners? Is there a discussion? Is it only Chair Stanek's call on that? Help me out a little bit on that point.
Sure, I'm glad to, and I think you're right. I think our most comfortable position is to send the legislature the information that it needs to make policy decisions. And I have a deep respect. I never tried to use my position at the commission to be a policymaker. I've not done that. But sometimes we also have a deeply ingrained public interest decision-making process where we may find something so harmful in our opinion, we're dealing with very esoteric issues that could be so harmful to the state of Maryland that if it implemented could damage the public interest. So for instance, I'm gonna use an example where we believe that the bill that was introduced this year would have been potentially, unless it was changed dramatically, so harmful to the public interest. And that is the bill that would have brought the ERCOT, Texas kind of third-party supplier system to the state of Maryland. And we just thought that we have a good regulatory structure here. We have a lot of history, and that bill could have been so damaging to the public interest that it rose to the level. And very few rise to that level, I think. Where we think it could damage the public interest. We typically will discuss them amongst the commissioners. So there's one example. Another example was a few years back, and Senator Kelly will certainly appreciate this. There was a legislative initiative for alternative forms of rate making. The bill did not pass, and we objected to the bill, but we also set in motion, and Senator Kelly participated in our proceedings, we set in motion the right way to do the due diligence outside of the high pressure of a legislative session, not to usurp your authority, because I will go to my dying grave believing that the Maryland General Assembly is the ultimate policy-making body in the state. But to be able to really take the time to pull the threads, do the due diligence, and get it right. And as you know, in Baltimore this year, in 2020, we actually issued our first order on a multi-year rate plan. So I guess that's some background, Senator Feldman. I don't know if that helps or not, but I think.
Well, it does. I'll leave it at that, Commissioner O'Donnell. I would just say that I totally get it when you're talking about the big bills, like the one But I think if you take a quick look, you'll see that this, I think the bar has been a little lower for these letters of opposition last session too. They haven't been these big policy calls. They've been sort of going a little further down the food chain. And I guess I would just make that point is I totally get the big issues like the one you're talking about Texas, but not all those letters of opposition have been in that category. And I just want to make that point, and I'll leave it at that. But
Fair enough, Senator. And I will carry that feedback back to the commission to make sure that we recalibrate our threshold so that it's at the right place. Maybe we do need to take another look at it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Senator Eckert.
Thank you very much. And I would just like to say I have always found Commissioner O'Donnell to be focused, thorough, and very dedicated. So I appreciate, Tony, your service on the Public Service Commission. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate that.
Senator Bidle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say hello to my friend, Mr. O'Donnell, who I sat across from for, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years. And it's just great to see you bring passion to the Public Service Commission that you always have for your constituents in the legislature. So please just support your nomination.
Thank you, Senator. Good to see you again.
All right. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, yes. Senator Griffith.
Thank you. I just would be remiss if I didn't say hello to one of the first people I met when I was sworn in 1999 and served on the House Judiciary Committee. And then delegate, now Commissioner O'Donnell, and I did not always agree, but I found him to be very fair, willing to listen, and willing to work on and compromise, work on solutions. So it's good to see you, sir, and congratulations.
Thank you, Senator. A lot of fond memories, and I appreciate your kind comments. Thank you.
Well, Tony, stay healthy and live as long as I have, and maybe you'll have a bunch of great grandchildren like I have.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you all.
It's good seeing you. Thank you.
You.
Miss Taylor was here with us. Is she still? I guess not again. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I do see her. Winona Taylor's on my
I'm under the
screen.
impression that she's still having technical difficulties. And she went ahead and sent a message in the chat room.
Right.
Okay. All right, then we'll move on to the Board of Trustees for the Baltimore City Community College. And I'll never get this right, but
Olúwafẹ́mi Esterola.
Thank you very much, Senator Kelly.
Thank you so
I needed that help.
Okay. Mr. Terriola has been twice an alumna of the institution. He's got a degree in 2 different departments there, as well as a bachelor's degree from a university in Lagos, Nigeria. He's been on the WBJZ 91.5 FM station as a program manager, and he's been involved in a number of major worldwide technical organizations as I guess, an investor. So he is also served on the alumni board at the community college. And he's here, and I believe he's able to speak for himself. I certainly support his nomination.
Thank you so much, Senator Kelly. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. And I would like to thank every one of you. I would like to thank Governor Haugen, and also thank you, Senator Young, and our fellow senators in the committee. My name is Olúwafẹ́mi Toriola, and for short, you could say Femi. It's really very easy to say. Yeah, I was born in Lagos, Nigeria, and I attended Lagos State University in Lagos, and I got my bachelor's degree in biology from there. And I've also got my degree with honors in Baltimore City Community College. I got a degree with general studies, and also currently working on my current degree in computer information systems. I've been actively engaged in extracurricular activities in Baltimore City Community College, and also I have served as the former president of the History Club, and also currently serving as the student trustee of the college. Thank you so much. And I still hope, and I'm willing, I'm continuing to serve in the best interest of the students, and also in the college and the community as large. Thank you so much for your time. And if you don't mind, if you may give me time to just say a big thank you to Senator Antonio Hayes and Senator Bill Ferguson. We had a very long meeting and conversation during the Student Advocacy Day last month. They spent their tremendous time in trying to answer questions and concerns for all the students, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Move favorable.
Very good. That's our last one of this evening.
Yes, it is.
When we get to the motion, I would suggest that if everyone's agreeable, we waive Taylor with the group there for all her efforts. I think she's still trying. So if there's no problem with that, let's just waive her being here and do that. Are we ready, Charity?
Yes, Chair Young, we're ready.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion. Senator Vital.
If no one has a name that they want to remove, I'll make a motion that we accept all the names for nomination that appeared tonight and all the ones that are statewide that were not required to appear tonight. Thank you.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, could I separate out number 2?
Separate out number 2?
Yes.
Okay. Have a request to separate out number 2. Is everyone agreeable to that? Okay, with number 2 separated.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, who's number 2?
Kathleen Borain.
Thank you.
That should be Kathleen Borain, Insurance
Yes.
Commissioner. Yes.
Do I need to amend the motion, Senator Young?
If everyone's agreeable for moving number 2 out, we'll just hold her and go forward with the motion for everyone else.
Okay.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm new to the committee. What does holding it mean? Does it mean?
It will be dealt with separately.
Okay, got it.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion and second with
Aye.
her being held out?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Senator Lamb, are you asking that we table her or vote separately?
It's asking that we vote separately. I would like to abstain from the vote pending the follow-up information that she committed to providing me.
Okay, do I have a motion for her approval?
Move favorable.
Second.
In a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? And Senator Lamb would like to abstain.
Correct.
Okay. This has been an unusual one tonight. Have a few suggestions for the next couple of meetings that I will send out to everyone for comment. And otherwise, if no one has anything else, have a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.